All right, so I'm here with Julianne Thompson. She's the head of sales development over at Drift. I'm super excited about this episode because Julianne and I go pretty far back, probably 6, 7, 8 years, and it's been amazing to see her progression throughout her career. She's somebody who I highly respect, so really happy that she took the time to be on this show. Julianne, welcome.
Awesome, so great to be here, Nimit. Yeah, you and I go back for the duration of my career. You were actually my first SDR manager straight out of college. So
my condolences. But awesome. So why don't you tell everybody a little about yourself, and then we'll kind of start the topic from there.
Sure. Yeah. So like you mentioned, I'm head of sales development at Drift. I'm actually fairly new to the company. I started in the middle of March, and I lead the sales development initiatives for about 20 reps in our Tampa and Boston offices. I'm based out of Tampa. Before that, I came from outreach, where I led the Tampa SDR team. And right before that, I worked for a company called Kite Dust that also sold in the sales engagement space in a similar spot as outreach. And then, started my career with Memory Blue. So that's a little bit about my career progression. But I think the unique thing about my career is I've always been an SDR, managed SDRs, or sold to SDRs. So this is an area that I'm very passionate about.
Yeah. So, what's really interesting is, you came on this new role at Drift, and kind of right before the world went crazy, and you actually had to scale the team, right? Tell us a little bit about that and kind of what went into all that.
Yeah. So for the first few years of Drift, everything was very inbound focused, given the nature of our product in this conversational marketing space. And so we really needed to nail that inbound process first. And as we developed as a company, decided that we needed to flex that outbound motion. So last year they started the BDR team. We had 4 BDRs in the enterprise space, and now we have a team of about 20. And so making a big change between, having those 4 people that had such a great foundation, and then growing that team out from there has been a really good scaling option.
Right. So, how do you keep the culture going virtually? From being in an office, I can see, having the hustle and bustle of the sales floor and as you grow the team, but doing it all virtually, what are some of the challenges, and how do you overcome some of those?
Yeah, so I'll start with onboarding. So I actually did all of my onboarding remotely. So I started after everything hit with COVID. And so I've actually never met any of my teammates face to face, which is definitely a unique position to be in. Most people wouldn't choose to make a career move during this time, but I really wanted to take advantage of the fact that Drift is such an awesome, fast-growing company in a really interesting space. And they opened up the Tampa office, so I decided to come on board. And one thing that I noticed is just how welcoming everybody was. And so as we're onboarding new SDRs, which we still are, I want to make sure that I replicate that feeling of, hey, you're a part of this team, you're a part of this culture. I think, just going back to leveraging technology too, I'm used to doing a lot of my meetings over Zoom with some of the headquarters in my last company in Seattle. And so transferring that over has been fairly seamless. Of course, you do run into that, you don't get that water cooler talk. You don't get to, scoot over to somebody's desk and show them how to use a platform that we're using. And so some of the things that we're doing to increase the productivity and keep everyone engaged are with regular syncs with the team, and different types of syncs with the team. So in the mornings, we do a morning huddle. We call that our commit. So we'll come in on Monday each week and say, hey, this is what I'm going to commit to the team. So my team is measured on opportunities created and meetings held. So they'll say, my goal is to have 5 opportunities created, and I need 7 meetings held this week. And then every morning we check in on Tuesday, say, okay, you said you were going to get 5 and 7. What'd you end up with? You're at 2 and 3. Okay, how are we going to make up the gap through the rest of the week? So having those commitments to each other, I think, is really important. And then going back to the onboarding piece, one thing that I actually just did today, because I had 4 people start today, is I assigned them each a buddy or a mentor. And the purpose of that is, I'm in and out of meetings all day. My managers are in and out of meetings all day. So I wanted to make sure that if they felt stuck, that they have a go-to person that they can always reach out to.
Wow. So the commit meeting, that's interesting. So, all right. So they come in, they say, all right, these are the goals. This is what I'm just going to tackle this week. These are my goals for this week. And then you do a follow-up. Does it happen like midweek or at the end of the week?
We actually do it every day. So
Oh,
then on
okay.
Tuesday, we come in and say, what did you accomplish yesterday? On
Gotcha.
Wednesday, we're like, hey, how are we pacing midway through the week?
Yeah.
Thursday is like, okay, what remaining gap do you have between what you committed to the team and where you're at right
Yeah.
now? And then what actions are you going to take to help bridge that gap?
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Like, that's interesting. So you brought up, in order to keep the knowledge sharing and keep the culture going, you're doing these meetings. Are you more on the let's have more frequent meetings that are shorter, or let's have kind of longer meetings that are less frequent?
Yeah, so we do the morning meetings, which are typically about 20 minutes, and that's to make sure everybody's, kicking off. We encourage them to bring a lot of energy. They have to have their numbers from the past day, so coming very prepared. We also think it's a great opportunity for them to practice their speaking skills and presenting their numbers. So, think about AEs in the future, it's kind of like a forecasting call. But I think it is important to have those regular daily check-ins in
Hmm.
addition to the weekly one-on-ones that we have with our reps as well. And then one thing that I'm a huge advocate for is if it's just something that we would typically cover in person, hop on a quick Zoom. So it
Hmm.
doesn't have to be scheduled. It can be impromptu, but if you ever find yourself slacking somebody going back and forth, it's just like, when you're dating and you're texting, some things can be lost in translation. So I think it's really important to, hop on the phone or hop on a video to supplement what you're doing in Slack or any other chat kind of
Yeah.
environments.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. So, um, real quick, something we can kind of discuss is performance management and how you do that with your team virtually. How do you keep your top performers continuing to produce, and how do you work with somebody that's probably struggling a little bit or is kind of falling behind?
Yeah, so we have a really new team. So most of the people that are running into challenges, it's because of ramping issues or having getting up to speed on the messages and things like that. We use a couple different platforms that help with that. Outreach is one of them. So if I have a rep that's struggling with emails, I can actually go in and see what those emails look like, what the call to actions are. If they're producing good videos, we obviously use our product drift video in our prospecting efforts. So trying to identify where the problem is and what behavior we can coach towards, and how that relates to the funnel. So when I say the funnel, I mean, how many calls do you have to make to have how many conversations, to book how many meetings, to have how many hold that convert to how many opportunities. And so the way that I've always managed is identify where in that funnel there's a bottleneck and then figure out what behaviors we can coach towards within that funnel.
Wow, wow. Okay, awesome. So, what's one big takeaway that an SDR manager can kind of take with regards to the ongoing coaching and the onboarding, kind of virtually? Because I mean, a lot of managers are doing this for the first time, all virtually. So, what's one takeaway for them?
Check in often, and that's not from like a micromanagerial standpoint. I'm an anti-micromanager, but check in emotionally. How are you doing today? And in regards to the one-on-ones too, separate your conversations from metric-driven one-on-ones and personal development-driven one-on-ones. So you don't want to mix the two. Because if you actually just had a member of our team last week had some personal things come up and his numbers are suffering, and if I didn't realize that there was some personal aspects going on, I could go into the meeting, why didn't you hit this number, why aren't you making your dials? But being empathetic, not just with our prospects, we hear a lot about empathy with our prospects, but also being empathetic with your team, and understanding that some people are going to handle this differently. Another quick tip for people that might be struggling to stay on track is come up with a daily schedule for them and have them be collaborative in the development of it. Again, I'm anti-micromanagerial, so I don't want to tell you exactly like when you have to be doing certain things, but have them be part of the development of their daily schedule so that they can stay on pace. That's really good for people that struggle with the working from home situation.
Right. Right. Yeah. Keep that structure. Right. I mean, I think some people thrive under that. So that's great. And I love how you make it collaborative too, right? Make them come up with the things that they're going to get done versus being told what to do.
Definitely.
But But that's really great, Julian. I really appreciate it. I know, speaking of scaling a team and growing a team, I know you have an interview you have to get to for some new talent on the team. So I'll let you get back to it. But appreciate you taking the time. Again, where can people find you?
Yeah, so you can definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. I take cold calls, and I say that because my phone number is on my LinkedIn profile, and I love to learn about how people, are positioning their products in the market. So, if you have any interest in reaching out, definitely reach out to me on LinkedIn. My phone number's in there as well.
Awesome. Sounds good. Thanks so much, Julianne.
All right, thanks, Nimit.